We open in the depths of the Norwegian Sea. Two scientists are investigating an anomaly. They see what appears to be a mountain moving towards them before a giant hand appears right in front of the two men. We cut to the Rocks and Sea base located nearby. They lose contact with the scientist and detect movement at the perimeter of the base. Realizing whatever is out there is far too big to be the lost scientists, the Roxxon employees deploy their attack sharks. One of the sharks is quickly killed, and Roxxon realizes they are under attack by frost giants. We then go up to the moon, where the new kingdom of Asgardia floats above it. The Asgardians have gathered around Thor. The god of thunder has not moved from where Nick Fury left him following the events of Original Sin. With only a whisper, Nick Fury has made it so Thor has been unable to lift his own hammer. Since then, Thor has refused to eat, sleep, or leave the moon's surface unless absolutely necessary. Odin, who has recently returned to the Asgardians, approaches Thor and demands an explanation. The other Asgardians state they too were unable to lift the hammer, so Odin himself tries. But even the Great Allfather is unable to lift Mjolnir. While Freya comforts her son, Odin's crows arrive and tell him of the frost giants attacking Earth. When asked for orders, Odin says that they should do nothing, while Freya says they are to prepare for war. While they argue, Thor gets up. His mother asks where he is going, to which Thor replies he is going to get a weapon and then return to his home. After Thor leaves, Odin tells Freya she is no longer in charge of Asgard, and that it is time she remember her place in this world. As the Asgardians leave, Freya looks at the hammer and says, "Yes, perhaps it is." Meanwhile, the sea base lies in ruin. Only a handful of employees are still alive at the command center. MacLeod emerges from the walls and asks for something. When the employees say they don't know what he is talking about, he kills two of them before the last one agrees to help him find whatever he is looking for. Soon, Thor arrives, riding a ram as without his hammer he cannot fly. In a weakened state, Thor is no match for MacLeod and the frost giants. MacLeod mocks Thor for losing his hammer, and then says, "Look on the bright side, Thor. Without that big heavy Mjolnir to lug around all the time, you've no need for so many cumbersome arms." He then proceeds to cut off the god's arm, and Thor sinks to the murky depths of the sea below. Back on the moon, a voice states, "There must always be a Thor." She lifts the mighty hammer, and the goddess of thunder is born. Thor is shocked that she is now wielding Mjolnir. But the earth is in peril, and through pure instinct, she flings the hammer into the sky. The mysterious new wielder now flies to the Pacific Ocean. Landing on location, she discovers a frost tower believed to hold the frost giants of Jotunheim. While venturing through the frozen catacombs, she discovers the Asgardians and the Avengers frozen in blocks of ice, hanging to life by a string. Without notice, a frost giant strikes. She barely dodges the attack. Two giants and their hound prepare to strike again, but now she is aware of them. With Mjolnir in hand, she takes flight and shatters their frozen bodies one by one. The battle is not over yet as a horde of frost giants converge on her location. While swinging the hammer, she states she is the goddess of thunder, and the next giant who hungers for flesh will taste cold Uru. With those words, she takes out the floor, and the giants fall to their deaths. At the top of the Frost Tower lay Roxxon Island. This corporation is under siege by the Frost Giants. Dario Agar, CEO of the Roxxon Corporation, and a monstrous minotaur under disguise, is en route to evacuate, but suddenly, the giants break through along with Malekith, king of the Dark Elves. The Dark Elf King demands the surrender of Roxxon Island, giving Agar merely 2 seconds to do so. Time runs out for the employees of Roxxon, but Agar, being the man that he is, takes the exit elevators, leaving his employees to be slaughtered by the giants. Dario Agar arrives at his destination only to be met with more foes. With no other solution, he begins to transform into his Minotaur state, but suddenly, The ground opens up to the new goddess of thunder. She preemptively strikes with Mjolnir, following up with a flurry of punches into the faces of the giants. Dario takes this opportunity to open a vault, made out of vibranium and reinforced with adamantium. But while the vault doors close, the hammer accidentally flies inside. The doors seal with Mjolnir on one side, and the goddess of thunder on the other. She is turned around and is shocked to find MacLeod and his army of frost giants waiting for round 2. The issue begins a few days ago in the realm of the frost giants. MacLeod is visiting Ice Lord Skrymir. MacLeod explains he has heard rumors that Thor is without his hammer, and that he has also learned that Roxanne has recently discovered the lost skull of the once great king of frost giants, Loki. Skrymir agrees to help MacLeod, and the invasion of Midgard begins. MacLeod approaches the new Thor and is rather curious about her. Thor says she protects Midgard and warns the king of dark elves she will not show mercy. But MacLeod mocks the new god and points out he is rather gruesomely taken to wearing the old Thor's arm as a trophy. The frost giants make quick work of the female Thor, and Skrymir devours her whole. He remarks that she is of an interesting taste, part god and part something else. MacLeod then begins to cast a spell to enter the vault, while the frost giants notice that something odd is happening to Lord Skrymir's eyes. Thor then blows Skrymir's head wide open with her lightning, and the Ice Lord falls. As she begins to attack the other frost giants, MacLeod says that he's starting to like this new Thor. He finishes his spell and breaks into the vault. MacLeod and Dario introduce one another, and Dario shows he is not unfamiliar with the power of magic either. MacLeod is not afraid of the Minotaur, and the two begin to fight, while Thor incapacitates the frost giants and begins to try opening the vault door, with Mjolnir assisting from within the vault. The hammer breaks through, killing the frost giant and repowering Thor. The new Thor breaks into the vault and smashes Loki's skull. MacLeod is dismayed and chastises Thor, explaining that when the frost giants learn of this, they will begin an unending war against Midgard that will bring the planet back into the Ice Age. However, Odin's son disagrees, and having come with a new cybernetic arm, gives the new Thor one demand: surrender the hammer or know the wrath of Thor.
Hours ago, Asgardia, the city of the gods, Thor wakes up after being rescued by his goats from the bottom of the sea after his battle with MacLeod. He is shocked to see that his arm has gone missing. But then, good news arrives, carried by a dwarf named Screwbeard. The dwarven blacksmith has brought a gift to the lightning god, a new arm to replace his lost one. This metallic arm was forged by Black Uru, the same substance that made his lost hammer, Mjolnir. Thor heads back to Midgard to finish his fight but discovers that his hammer and mother has gone missing. Present day, Roxanne Island, the Odin's son arrives demanding that his hammer be returned to him. Blinded by jealousy and anger, he attacks the new Thor. She defends and returns the blows right back at him. While the Thors continue their assault on each other, nearby frost giants takes the opportunity and get them some Asgardian meat, but something unexpected happens. Mjolnir flies out of the battle between Thors and takes out the oncoming frost giants. The Odinson realizes that his hammer had never did that when it was in his possession. He finally stops to think clearly. He senses nobility in this new Thor and asks if she is his mother. The unexpected happens as this new mysterious wielder of Mjolnir embraces the Odinson in a passionate kiss. He now hopes that this new Thor is not his mother. Their focus now turns towards the Frost Giants and MacLeod. The new alliance of Old Thor and New Thor takes out the giants, but MacLeod manages to escape through his portal. The Dark Elf is gone, but the Minotaur is still around. Dario Argar makes his appearance with his army and demands that the Thors depart from his facility. The Odinson prepares for round 2, but the new Thor states that they have more urgent things to do. At the base of the Frost Tower, the Avengers along with the rest of the Asgardians are released from their frozen prison. We discover that the All-Mother Freya had been among the frozen prisoners. The All-Mother is shocked to see that her son has lost his arm. She is also not aware of this new wielder of Mjolnir. The Odinson admits that he is now unworthy, and this new Thor is now the new master of Mjolnir. He offers his blessing to the new Thor and relinquishes his name as Thor, for he is now unworthy. The scene jumps to Roxen Island. We discover that the destroyed skull of Laufey was actually a decoy, and the real skull is still in the possession of Dario Aggar. A deal is going on between the Minotaur and the Dark Elf King. Malekith asks for a price for the skull, in which Dario states, "Realms. I want realms." Malekith smirks and states, "Perhaps we can do business after all."
The issue begins in the halls of Asgardia. Odin is furious at a terrible crime that has been committed. Somebody has stolen and corrupted Mjolnir, and the King of Asgardians demands to know her identity. On Midgard, the Absorbing Man is in the process of robbing a van full of money, and the new Thor is on the scene to stop him. Creel is unimpressed by this woman and mocks her for not coming up with an original identity. When the Absorbing Man threatens to take on the properties of Mjolnir, the new Thor is able to spin the hammer around the villain, much to Creel's surprise, before the lady is able to break the villain's jaw. But the Absorbing Man is not alone, and his wife Titania demands to know what is going on. Though it seems like the two are about to come to blows, the powerful villain surprisingly chooses to knock her husband out instead. Titania explains that out of respect for a fellow woman, she and her betrothed will be standing down, and even accepting prison. The villain says this is a one-time deal, and next time she'll have Thor's head. So the hero proceeds to knock Titania out. Back on Midgard, Odin has been watching the scene unfold, but he is unable to discern Thor's secret identity. The god is approached by Freya and Odin's son, who ask Odin to leave the matter be. But the ancient god refuses to be told what to do, and rages at his family's disrespect to their king. But the old Thor isn't interested in Odin's problems, and instead wants to know what Kull Borson is doing here. Kull is also known as the Serpent, and though he is Odin's brother, the god of fear is very dangerous, having once killed Odin's son and nearly razed Midgard. But Odin says that his brother has reformed, and he has been forgiven for his actions during the events of fear itself. The king has made the Serpent his new royal inquisitor and minister of justice, in spite of his son's protest, and Odin refuses to hear otherwise. Freya remarks that this does not bode well for anybody, especially the new Thor, and asks her son to warn his female counterpart. But Odin's son has no way of contacting her, as he doesn't know the woman's real identity, and sets to work figuring it out. He goes to Asgardia's royal dining hall and finds Lady Sif. However, she is drinking alone and is depressed at having broken up with Odin's son some time ago, and that Freya's rule over Asgardia is now over. When her former lover asks if Sif has taken on the mantle of Thor, the lady throws a drink in his face and leaves, offended by the question and mad at her old friend. Frustrated, Odin's son begins a list to review the potential people who could have taken on the role of Thor. Only his mother's name is crossed out. Meanwhile, the new Thor has returned to the moon, when she is visited by none other than Freya. The All-Mother isn't interested in learning Thor's secrets, but simply passes a warning to the young woman that Asgardia will soon come for the new Thor, and she needs to be ready. Freya says the young lady will need to not just live up to Mjolnir, but to the name of Thor itself. In response, the new god of thunder swears she will die before dishonoring the name of Thor, a vow Freya hopes she will never have to hold the god to. The queen then asks what it's like to be Thor, thinking it must be unimaginable. With a smirk, the young woman replies that's not even close to what it feels like. Back at the bar, Thor is now drunk and nearly passed out, so his friends the Warriors Three opt to take him home. Deep in the bowels of Asgardia, Odin remarks that the hammer still eludes every single one of the god's usual methods for gathering information. Kull offers to begin torturing Odin's magicians in order to goad answers out of them, but Odin says there's no need for such extreme measures. The king says he will instead rely on the more traditional means to get Mjolnir back, and activates the legendary Destroyer.
Many years ago, on a private island, pirates have raided the place and killed and plundered. A boy manages to escape the massacre. As he runs into the darkness for dear life, he prayed. By morning, the boy had been praying until his knees bled and bones ached. The pirates arrived to finish him off, but what happens next was the exact opposite. It wasn't God who answered the boy's prayers. It was something much, much more demonical. present day, Dario Argar had told the Dark Elf King of his childhood and what happened to the pirates. The amusement of keeping the pirates alive outweighed their death. The deal continues as Dario offers the skull of Laufey to Malekith. But the price for the skull will be the home realm of the Dark Elves. Asgard, Heimdall stands vigilant as the all-seeing guardian of the Bifrost. The Odin son seeks a meeting and asks for a favor. Even though the Odin son has given his name away, he still seeks the knowledge of this new Thor, but Heimdall's vision does not reach that far. He can see Malekith forging dark pacts. He can see trolls still hiding in Midgard. He can see a serpent let loose in the heavens. Wars are spreading like wildfire all over the realms, but he cannot see the identity of this new goddess of thunder. Unsuccessful in his search for truth, Thor requests for the Rainbow Bridge to open so he can find himself some trolls to pummel. After releasing his frustrations on the Earth Trolls, Thor is still nowhere near an answer to his question. Who is this new Thor? The Odin son returned to the blue area of the moon, the area where he lost his hammer. Volstagg the Valiant arrives and informs the Odin son that his presence is needed elsewhere. The scene jumps to the Asgardian Hall of Medicine. Jane Foster is still under Midgard medical care. Even though she was advised to take Asgardian medicine, aka magic, Jane refuses due to the fact that magic always comes with a price. After sharing a hug, Jane departs with the Asgardian healer. Jane Foster is now crossed off the list of potentials. Next up is fellow Earthling Roz Solomon. Thor now meets with his S.H.I.E.L.D. contact Phil Coulson. But the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent is on the same boat as the Odinson. No one seems to know the identity of this new Thor. The Odinson demands to know the whereabouts of Roz, but Phil states that she has been on leave for weeks now. Coulson attempts to call Solomon on her cell, but nobody answers. Meanwhile, at the Roxxon base, a deal has been made between the Minotaur and the Dark Elf King. Roxxon will receive the mineral rights to all realms that the Dark Elf has conquered till the end of time. And Malekith, he will receive the skull of the Frost Giant King. They boldly state that if one betrays the other, all hell will break loose upon the betrayer. With that said, the two villains clink their glass in their new partnership. Their meeting is interrupted by Roxxon security. A threat presented itself on the roof. As lightning and thunder claps, the armed man fires at a mysterious figure, only to have their bullets bounce off the body of the new goddess of thunder. Asgardia, Freya marches into the throne room, demanding for a reason as to why Odin allowed his brother Kol to be in charge with the most dangerous weapon known to men. Odin stands by his choice, but is met with a slap to the face. Freya will clearly not stand for this, and she even goes as far as to threaten him with this new goddess of thunder. The scene jumps back to Roxxon base. The new Thor demands the presence of the Minotaur and the Dark Elf, but instead, standing in the way is the Destroyer.
Weeks ago, Agent Roz Solomon gets a call from her superior, Agent Coulson. He's checking in to see how her vacation is going. The agent says it is nice, but that recently she found evidence of an illegal Roxxon toxic waste dumping site underground. When Coulson asks if she has anything to do with a report he just got, saying that Roxxon has had a break-in in one of their facilities, Solomon claims ignorance and says if it makes her boss feel better, she can call Thor. At this remark, Coulson realizes she has yet to hear about what happened to her sort of boyfriend. After learning how her god lost his hammer, Roz travels to the moon, finding Mjolnir, but no Thor. Enjoying the atmosphere on the blue side of the moon, she looks on at Earth. S.H.I.E.L.D. keeps getting weaker and losing its allies, while Roxxon is getting stronger and more reckless. If only they had something big, something to help them tip the scales. Now, on Roxxon Island, Thor does battle with the Destroyer. After knocking each other around a bit, the God of Thunder is shocked to find that the armor has taken her hammer. The Destroyer is being piloted by Odin's brother, called the Serpent. The Allfather orders his sibling to use the hammer to teach this woman what happens when she lays her hands on that which belongs to Odin. After the lesson is taught, he wants the armor to bring her and Mjolnir back to Asgardia, so that she may answer for her theft. Meanwhile, in the skies of Midgard, Odin's son is approached by his mother. She tells him of the situation with the other Thor, and says they will need an army to help her. Her son points out that this shouldn't be a problem. They have the Bifrost, and it just so happens that he is holding a list. On the island, Dario Agger, CEO of Roxton, and Malekith, king of the Dark Elves, look on at the battle below. But the king is unconcerned about this battle, and teleports the two to another realm called Alfheim, home of the Light Elves. Cheerfully, Malekith asks for help with murdering a bunch of them, and the CEO complies without hesitation. Back on the island, Thor stands, bloody and nearly beaten. But she notices the destroyer is barely able to contain Mjolnir. Using her connection with the hammer, the woman is able to fling the armor across the battlefield before blasting it with a massive explosion of lightning. But the destroyer is far from destroyed. Thor is furious. This is not how it ends. She will not be a footnote in history as the woman who was a god for 5 days and then fell. This is not how she dies. Her true story hasn't even begun, but it's about to.
In the midst of chaos and destruction, the warriors converge on the Asgardian weapon of war called the Destroyer. But behind the scene, the true puppet master and the Odinson's uncle, Lord Kull, is in full control of the walking armor. The battle rages on as our heroes throw everything they got at the Destroyer. The All-Mother Freya is next to take a shot. She readies her mighty sword and swears that the only thing that dies today is her husband's supposed omnipotence. The All-Father's reign of idiocy is at an end. So swears Freya, daughter of Vanaheim. So swears the All-Mother of Asgard. The Destroyer retaliates, but Freya takes that small moment to speak through the war machine and to her husband. Lord Odin is moved and demands his brother Kull to halt the attack. Before the Destroyer departs into deep space, the All-Father states, "Damn you, woman! Damn you for making me the villain!" Our heroes regroup and the mission is finished. They say their farewells and depart back to their homes. The Odinson stands alone with the new Thor at last. In his reasoning, Odinson has crossed out every single potential woman on his list. The only one left is Ros Solomon. He pleads for Thor to show her face. The Odinson admits that he is jealous, but what he truly wants is the truth that he will guard with his life. But Thor is hesitant. This secret she will hold close to her heart. She will not give it up. But then the unexpected happens as the hovercar approaches with Ros Solomon in the driving seat yelling at Thor for ruining her investigation into Dario Agger and his organization. The Odinson is speechless. While the ladies are properly introduced to one another, the Odinson stands frozen in his tracks. Thor senses that the Odinson and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent have much to catch up on, and thus she throws Mjolnir into space and returns back to her safe haven, leaving a very confused son of Odin baffled at his current situation. He tears apart his list, and after a long day, the son of Odin is ready for more meat and mead. Asgardia. Lady Freya marches towards the All-Father's chambers. She will have a word with her dear husband. Jotunheim. Dario Agger and Malekith has finally brought the skull of Laufey home. The Dark Elf releases his dark magic. Whatever happens here in Jotunheim will not fare well for the rest of the 9 realms. Meanwhile, Thor flies through the cold vacuum of space and returns to Asgardia. Quieter than a mouse, she lands back in her chambers. Her night is finished and she says farewell to the Hammer of Gods. She hides her secret because she won't be stopped, and they would try to stop her if they ever learned the truth. The world needs a Thor. That's all that matters. We need a god who understands what it means to be humbled, to be mortal. A god who knows how precious life is, how delicate. A god who struggles every day to live a worthy life. She is Dr. Jane Foster, and she will not stop being the mighty Thor, even though it is killing her.
Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden and this is the complete story of Thor. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this collection of our recaps. This is the first time we've done something where both Joey and I are doing a review, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Looking over these 8 issues, it serves as a pretty good start for the new Thor, and I look forward to what Marvel does with this character. Of course, with Secret Wars going on, I have no idea what is going to happen to the Thors. So many Thors. Hopefully they do follow up with all the things that this story sets up, like the Serpent, Malekith, and Roxanne. Like I said, this is a good beginning, but now I want to see Lady Thor take down a big villain. I think it would be really cool if she gets to fight the Serpent at some point, as that could prove very interesting. Anyhow, be sure to check out our website for all of our complete stories. And finally, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.